Hello folks, welcome back to another week of a cooking instruction video for this week's meal kit. My name is Emily and I'm the registered dietitian here at Harvest Market, and every week I'm here with a new recipe and cooking up something delicious. So this week we have a balsamic glazed roasted salmon or chicken with a really beautiful kind of fall harvest green salad. So kind of a mouthful, but it doesn't take that long to cook, which is great. So you can kind of do double duty in the kitchen when other things are going. And I talk about this a lot when cooking. You know, it's really about mastering the timing of everything, right? So we're gonna have a really nice flow to this recipe, so everything kind of comes together at the same time and quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. The first thing that we need to do is to make our balsamic glaze. So luckily it's pretty much already done for you. It's gonna come in a cup. This is a really large cup. I don't know why I put it in here. But we are going to, I have this little skillet here preheated. And what we're gonna do is we are gonna grab our little glaze cup that's gonna go in. Let's go ahead and open up our little veggie packet. This kind of has just all of the veggies in here that we're going to be using for various things. So we've got our butternut squash. We'll set this off to the side, as well as our parsley. That's going to go in our salad. So we'll set these guys over here. We have our parsley here. We've got our kale. We can just kind of get onto our cutting board. Should have a little garlic clove in there. We want that out. And we want this lemon too. So just empty out that kale. And you can set this kale off to the side. I just have a bowl over here that I'm gonna microwave my grains in, but I'm just gonna set that kale off to the side for just a minute while we do our balsamic glaze. So the first thing that I wanna do is start getting this stuff into the pan, simmering away. So I like to give it a good stir first. We got sticky things in here that like to stick to the bottom and kind of congregate there. So we wanna make sure that we mix it up really well. We've got honey in here, we've got balsamic, we've got a little Dijon mustard, salt and pepper. Beautiful. All right, going right in. You might see some chunks in there. That's just the Dijon mustard. So I like to take a butter knife and just kind of scrape out everything because we want to make sure we get all that good stuff. We don't want it stuck in the cup and not in our beautiful glaze. Okay, so we're just gonna bring this up to a gentle simmer. And while we do that, we're gonna go ahead and mince up this garlic. I love garlic. As some of you may well know, I love garlic. I don't think you can ever have too much. I know some folks don't really mind or don't like it, which is fine. If you wanna leave it out, you can. But it gives a beautiful flavor and it mellows out when it's sauteed or kind of simmering in this glaze a little bit. So if you wanna use a garlic press, of course you can. Just gonna give it a nice chop. It smells so good already. So we're gonna get this glaze bubbling away. We just want it to bring it to a gentle simmer. What we're doing here is we're making the glaze. So we're just gonna reduce it. We're really just cooking off some of that water and it's going to become nice and kind of thick and really shiny and really beautiful. It's gonna stick really beautifully to our chicken and salmon. Okay, so I'm gonna scoop all of my garlic up on my knife and drop it right in, making sure that I get every little piece because it likes to stick. Fresh garlic is sticky. Then we're gonna take half of our lemon. So if you have a two-person kit like I do, that I'm cooking here, you will have half of a lemon. We're gonna half that again. And this we're gonna save for later. This is gonna go in our salad. And then this one we're gonna plop right in here, the juice. We're gonna squeeze that juice right in. Beautiful. Okay, now we're gonna bring this up to a little simmer, a little bubble. We want to not boil it. We want to, again, gentle simmer. That's all we're looking for. Okay. So the next thing that we're gonna do is, while that goes, we're gonna prepare our butternut squash. So I have this already kind of pre-prepped for you. You're welcome. because I know it's sometimes a headache to prepare squash. It takes a little bit. Take some elbow grease, and oftentimes maybe you end up with more than what you want if you're cooking for just two. So I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna take whatever slices I have and just process it down into little cubes. So I want small cubes so that it cooks fairly quickly in the oven, and they should be about uniform. Now, you absolutely don't need to take out like a tape measure or a ruler and measure this by any means, but just eyeball it and try to be mindful of making things into approximately the same size. And really just, you know, just think about it being in the oven. We want smaller pieces, so smaller pieces, more surface area, cooks more quickly. So that is what we're looking for. So I'm getting a nice gentle simmer here on my sauce or my glaze, which is what we want. Again, just a gentle one, because this can burn and we don't want it to burn. We just want it to simmer away just until it reduces. So I do have a sheet pan ready to go, lined with foil, and I like to use foil just because for me, it's easier cleanup, okay? So if you don't want to use foil, you don't have to. You can use parchment if you want. Okay, so here is all of our butternut squash. So I'm gonna take, I just got a nose full of that balsamic vinegar. Once it starts to cook down, it really, be careful. Don't stick your nose too close to it because it can get a little pungent. Okay, so again, just a gentle simmer, adjust the heat as needed. As you can see, I'm just at a gentle. If it starts to bubble up and boil, then we wanna scale it back just a little bit. Okay, so we put our butternut squash here on one end of the sheet pan. We're gonna do, this is kind of a semi-sheet pan meal where we're gonna put the chicken and or fish on one end and the butternut squash on the other. So we're just gonna put these, just have a little thing of olive oil, just a couple teaspoons, and we're just going to, use this spatula. We're just gonna kind of toss these in olive oil, which will help them roast, get a nice beautiful slight caramelization on the outside, and cook down really, really beautifully. Plus, you see that beautiful orange color. Many of you might know that's vitamin A. So vitamin A is responsible for a lot of the, you know, or in a lot of orange hued vegetables. And vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, which means it needs fat in order to be absorbed into the body and then utilized. So it's really smart to make sure that you have some type of fat when you're cooking with things that have vitamin A in them. Vitamin A, D, E, and K are all fat soluble vitamins. Okay, so my glaze is done. It's nice and thickened, and as it cools, it'll continue to thicken a little bit. So I'm gonna just transfer this to a little dish so that it stops cooking in the pan. It should be reduced slightly and slightly thickened. Beautiful. Okay, so there's that. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this stuff in the oven. So I have my, let's get this over here. I have my chicken and fish on one end, and I'm just going to give them a pat. So this will help for the, help the glaze stick a little bit. So we're just going to give that a pat and just pat this dry. Okay, so now I'm just going to put a little bit of the glaze over the chicken and over the salmon. So I'm gonna save, it might run off and that's okay, because it'll get underneath too. So I'm just gonna kind of use this little brush to kind of get all over. So I'm not sticking this in here because I'm gonna use the rest of this and I don't wanna cross-contaminate. So I'm just gonna pour this on and then just kind of dab this on here. And again, this is going to It might run underneath, and that's okay. We're just gonna tuck it underneath. That way both sides are seasoned. We're gonna save the rest of this. We're gonna pour this on when these guys come out of the oven, okay? Because some of this will kind of come off, but then the other stuff will bake into it. So we wanna save this so we can really taste that balsamic flavor. Alrighty, so this is gonna go in the oven, my preheated oven, 425, for 13 minutes. I'm gonna check at 13 minutes, and we're gonna see if we need to cook any longer than that. So be right back. So I'm going to transfer my grains into a microwave safe bowl, and we are going to microwave this for just a couple minutes. So while our grains are microwaving, we're gonna prepare our kale. And so I'm just gonna take out any big ribs in here. So this is just the stalk or the stem of the kale. I'm just gonna remove any big pieces of these. Just kind of go through a little bit. Make sure you tear off the leafy part to save that. But I'm just gonna get rid of any of these big pieces. So then I'm gonna squeeze it. I'm gonna squeeze it really, really, really good. This is gonna break down the cell walls, make it a really beautiful texture. This is great for kids to do too in the kitchen, just squeezing the kale. And you can tear it with your hands. This kale that I'm giving you is broken up pretty nicely, but I like the pieces nice and small in my salad so that it's not harsh, and it's kind of very lightly sprinkled throughout the salad. Because a lot of people aren't fans of kale, and I get it. It can be really bitter and nasty, but when done right, it is so beautiful and delicious. All right, so that looks good to me. And let's grab our grains. Okay, grains are done. They're hot in here. While they're still hot, it's really important we add in the kale, because that's gonna kind of work on softening it up a little bit. Okay, then we're gonna add cranberries and almonds. Then we're gonna add the rest of our lemon juice right in here. And then our vinaigrette. Again, making sure that we scrape anything, because there's honey in this vinaigrette, and it likes to stick to the bottom. So make sure we scrape everything out. Lovely. We're gonna give our parsley a little rough chop. This all goes into the salad. Give it a stir. Excellent. Oh my gosh. So you want your grains to be steaming. This is really gonna bring out the flavors of the vinaigrette, and it's gonna help to kind of soak up the vinaigrette a little bit. Okay, so to keep this warm, I'm just gonna place a plate right on top of it. It's nice and secure so that it can stay hot until the rest of our stuff is done. Okay, so I just pulled these guys out of the oven. So again, using a meat thermometer is great, especially for chicken, because we don't want to overcook the chicken. 165, even 160, because it'll continue to climb a little bit when it sits to rest. So right away, I'm going to cover the chicken and the fish. They should be done just about at the same time. Okay, I've tested it and mine turned out great. And so I'm going to cover those both tightly. Now, some folks may say that you need to let your, that you don't need to let your chicken or fish rest, but I do, and I don't think it hurts. I think it just tenderizes it. It makes sure that all the juices stay in there and keeps it really nice and moist and delicious. So it doesn't hurt to let it sit and rest for just a minute. So I'm gonna keep this covered. And while my squash is still hot, I'm going to scoop it right into here. Now, this is how my squash looks right here. If you want yours a little bit more browned, a little bit more caramelized, that's absolutely fine. What you can do then is just remove these guys, put them onto a plate, cover them tightly, and then pop the butternut squash back into the oven to cook a little bit longer. You know, however long you like a nice brown on the outside. I like mine to have a little bit of some texture to it. So if you want yours softer, again, cook them a little bit longer, 5-10 minutes longer, depending on your taste preference. So I'm good with this. I'm gonna plop these right back in right into the bowl. Oops. With all of the other salad ingredients. This is going into our salad. And I'm gonna give that a toss right away. How beautiful is that salad? Oh my goodness. So I'm just gonna cover this up just like this for the, to keep it nice and warm while this rests. Okay, both have rested, so I am transferring my salmon onto the plate. Gonna serve up some of the grain salad. Ooh, a little messy. Grains get everywhere. Don't forget about the rest of the glaze if you want any of that on there. And then you have your balsamic glazed salmon and fall harvest salad. So delicious, comes together just beautifully. The colors on here are amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll see you guys next time.